This episode of the Restoration Today podcast is presented by NextGear Solutions, a leading provider of property restoration workflow software. NextGear was recently acquired by CoreLogic, a leader in property information and data-enabled solutions, in a move to bridge the insurance and restoration industries into one open platform and to offer new, best-in-class solutions that improve how the industry helps millions of people protect and restore the homes they love. Learn more at corelogic.com/nextgear. This just in from beautiful Captiva, Florida. Okay, Scott, thank you for joining me. So we are here to talk a little bit about your story. We're going to start there because you have been in restoration more than just with NextGear. And I think people know you maybe from your Client Runner and NextGear days, but your history goes further than that. You know a lot about the industry. So let's start with your story and how you got to where you are with NextGear today.
Okay, so growing up, I always either did sales or construction. My first job was flipping shingles for an old school guy with hammer, and he was fast. In the vein of Paul Bunyan, those old school hammers have been somewhat replaced by automation.
Yep,
and that's been a theme for the last 30 years. So probably Hurricane Andrews when I got my first. Real introduction to the industry, how the industry works. A friend of mine, Vernon Davenport, who's actually over at Xactware now, we did a lot of remodeling, had a lot of fun.
Okay.
We weren't quite getting serious about business, but when we came back, we were doing basements in Utah and ended up getting a job at Xactware, where I was employee number 42.
And how many employees do you think they have now?
Over 1,000, I'm guessing.
I would think. An employee 42.
Yeah, so it was the early days, but it was year 10. They always say it takes 10 years to become an overnight success, and I think that's true.
I've not heard that before. That's interesting.
They had put a lot of the groundwork in. There was a lot of things going, but it was an exciting time. Year 10 through 20 was massive growth for Xactware, and I got to learn a lot and see a lot. I was our first salesperson. Mike Fulton hired me. I love working with Mike. Greg Pine, who's over pricing today. Greg and I shared a desk face to face in the old, I don't know if you've ever seen their old campus, but they had the Donnie Marie recording studio back there. Used to be an old radio station.
Okay.
So they had soundproof and everything. We were back in there.
That's fun. I guess.
We actually had a lot of fun. It was fun, but I remember two things. One is the first day I went home, my wife said, "So how'd it go on your first day?" I said, "Well, we're going to have to move to Wyoming." And she said, "Why?" I said, "Because I want to run their sales team, and they're in Wyoming."
Okay.
Which, I didn't even know what I was saying at the time, but I did end up becoming their first real salesperson outside of their telenet sales to do carrier stuff. And because we get a young company, it's the owners and the president, they're doing all this. It's not like they weren't doing sales, but to formally build out a sales team, and I was able to do that, and a lot of great experience there. And then I moved on to do some entrepreneurial things. And
so was Client Runner not the first entrepreneurial thing you did? You had some steps before Client Runner?
We did a few things. We did MSP, managed service provider, for taking all the hardware and technology that companies have and replacing them so that we could support them. And then we did an Uber style. Everything's Uber style, but it really was before Uber. We had LLCs that we brought all the workers in. So in 2008, we had 7 different LLCs. We did, $8 million in 6.5 months. I didn't even have a business card, but we had something that was innovative, and I didn't come up with the idea. It was a bunch of accountants that, friends of friends, and but we had a lot of fun making that happen. We ended up selling that company. A friend of ours bought it, and it's a PEO now.
Okay.
So they're still running today, and was doing. I'm trying to think how much I want to say here because did a lot. So did a brief stint for the guy who was trying to buy the first General franchise in the United States. It was a bit of a failed opportunity, but and that led me into Client Runner. And Jerry Pinnock, who was we co-founded Client Runner. We had a meeting in a Cafe Rio. And, no, sorry, it was Costa Vida, which is the same thing if you know Utah restaurants. But
no. I've heard of the first one, not the second one.
But Jerry was running some stuff in his company. He had kind of somebody told him if he paid $10,000, he would That was all it would take to build a software program. Anybody that's built software knows that that's never the case.
Yeah,
it's like
I wouldn't think so.
It's like having a baby. Maybe that gets you home from the hospital. So anyway, we got together and started the company and heard about this little company out of Oxford, Mississippi. And I remember telling Jerry, I said, that's our competition. You got to be careful with those guys. And that was NextGear.
Yep.
And Garrett and team. And we were friendly rivals for quite a while. And in 2016, Garrett had spent 2015 outflanking us to get some PE money and bring that piece in so he could run harder and faster. And we looked at it, and really it made more sense to join forces than to go a different direction. So we were the first of those acquisitions, and that kicked off a series of 5 acquisitions in 5 years. And really watching the industry form and grow, and then watching how you bring things together in a synergistic way as opposed to just buying strategic buys and things like that. Really exciting, and it's been fun, and I think we've done a lot of good. Brought a lot of good people together. The staff has changed so much. The leadership that we were able to coalesce around, it just got stronger every play. It was amazing.
So what was happening in the industry that triggered you to want to start Client Runner, that you felt that there needed to be a platform for contractors?
So for me, when I was at Xactware, I would speak at conferences and things, and Jerry is a friend that I would talk to about, what are the contractors thinking? What's the biggest issue? What am I going to face when they go there? And and he would always shoot straight and get us prepared. But so we had a friendship, but I also had an affinity for the contractor because that's where I kind of grew up, contractor in sales. And if you look at it, the contractor gets squeezed from every angle. The homeowner, the insurance companies, the other vendors competing. It just seems like Department of Professional Licensing, all the regulation seems to come in and squeeze the contractor. And I just felt like at the time Jerry was putting together a really simple software. We saw eye to eye on that, and I had a lot of autonomy to help with that. But industry-wise, it was really, for me, at the time, we were throwing down the gauntlet of somebody has to go, speak for the contractor and help the contractor. And that's where I've kind of gravitated to within the organization I'm in now is contractor side of things. We do a lot as a company that's not contractor based, but my role is very, very much around the contractor, and that's where I feel the affinity and the passion and the desire to help.
Yep. So we're recording this almost 2 months after it was announced that CoreLogic bought NextGear, right? So is your role changing as you move forward? What does that look like? And I'm also a little curious because you were talking about what you saw was happening in the industry that made you want to start Client Runner. So where's technology going now?
Okay.
I don't know which question you want to start with. Sorry, that was multiple.
So a lot of things happening quick. It's going to a bigger company causes you to pause and think, am I saying something's going to offend somebody? But me, I'm gonna
shoot straight. Yep.
But the reason it's a good fit, and when you do acquisitions and having done multiples now, you're really looking for fit. It's almost like if you're trying to get a job, you're when you're young, you're like, I'll take it. I don't care what it is, I'll take it.
Yep.
But it's maybe that's good to get some experience, but you really need to pay attention because a major part of your life is going to be there. Your how you feel every day. It's going to impact your home life. It's going to impact so many things, and it's going to impact the industry itself. So figuring out how to do those mergers right where it helps is big. And with CoreLogic, they're so big with real estate. There's a lot of things that we can leverage there. CoreLogic felt like we were doing so many things at NextGear that they wanted to get done that they could get there faster. And having all of the senior leadership team stay is almost unheard of. There's no, usually when you do an acquisition, there's a lot of buyouts, things that you can go for. That's not the way they set this up. It's, hey, Garrett's like, we're going to change the industry. Do you want to be on board? And I love the quote, I can't remember the name right now on Facebook, but she said if you get an opportunity to sit on a rocket, you don't ask which seat.
No.
You get on, right?
Yes.
And so that's what we think we're doing here. And I really think 10 years from now we'll look back and say, man, that was an awesome time. That was a beginning, not a culmination. It feels like a culmination when you do that. But each time we've done with Nextgear, each acquisition was a step to bigger and better things, a step to bigger and better things. And so I think we're going to be able to help drive innovation, help drive integrations, because there's, business reasons to do different things. There's leverage. There's all these things that come into play. Competition helps remove some of those, at least put them to the back burner so that you can compete, because at some point you've got to take care of the customer.
So do you feel like you've been almost a resource to other people within Nextgear going through this, because you've been acquired before?
Yeah.
So, if most Nextgear employees have been on the side of like bringing new people in, but now you're the new people. So have you been a good resource to others who are like, what is going to happen now?
Yeah, I've taken lots of calls, and I like to do that anyway. I like to talk and help, and that's anyway. But in fact, I don't know how consultants make money, because I would like it, but I would do it for free. And I mean, literally, I just like to help out. And so a lot of conversations, there's a lot of fear. Anytime there's change, some people are really good with change and some people are really afraid of it. And so to be able to talk to me, and I usually will point to a few others that they can go and sound things off, that we're, in a safe, they feel safe. And it's really about the unknown and dealing with change. And there's a lot of things that you can't know. I won't give names, but there was in one of the acquisitions, there was somebody was coming over that, because of where they lived and how they did things, and it was an overlapping position. We just kind of thought that person probably will not come over, but 90% of them will probably come over and stay, but that person probably wouldn't. And Tim Kempy, a good friend of mine, said, he tells the story because it was his story. He was like, sometimes it's good that we don't know yet. Let's wait and see, because that person, had we really had to make hard decisions, we would have said, oh, let's don't have that person. That person's a rock star. Like, the deeper we got, the more we realized, hey, this is an awesome person, and they should be doing a lot more than just what they're doing.
Okay.
And, so to be able, have time to discover that. My advice has been, this is a great thing. They'll say, well, was my job in jeopardy? It's like, have you seen the job market out there right now? We need people. We need good people. I wouldn't worry about that.
Yep.
Am I going to like it? Am I going to fit in? It's like, there's an old story where somebody was trying to move in the neighborhood, and they said to the local important person, mayor, whatever you want to call it. It's not a real story, but they said, what's the neighborhood? And they said, well, what's it like where you came from? Oh, the schools are nice, the people are great, they're friendly. He says, yeah, it's about like that here. Another couple comes in and says, well, how's the neighborhood? He says, well, how was your neighborhood? And they said, well, it was terrible. Everybody was selfish, and the schools were terrible. This and that. He goes, yeah, it's kind of like that here. So the reality is, you're a reflection of your environment, and but mostly I think just having somebody to talk to, regardless, you kind of solve your own answers by having the conversations. So we had a lot of good conversations, and a lot of people, I wouldn't say talk to anybody off the cliff, because I don't think it was that extreme, but yeah, it's good to have people to talk to. I've been around a long time.
So relationships in this industry are mega important. Do you think other industries have relationships like the restoration industry does? Oh. They must to a certain extent, but I can't imagine that there are that many other industries that are as connected and relationship based as this one, right?
It's an ecosystem. You talk about in our world the butterfly effect. The butterfly halfway across the world causes the hurricane. So true in our industry. Yeah. I don't know about other industries. I'm assuming, because I believe everything comes down to people, everything comes down to relationships, but we're so interconnected. The policyholder, the carrier, the whole supply chain with all the different vendors. You can't make a move without impacting others. And even saying something makes some people up here nervous and back away, and you're like, what was that about? It's like everybody's trying to read tea leaves and see where things are going, and it's because at its core, it's relationship based. You got to have strong relationships, and I don't know. I always say, because I've come up through sales, relationships break ties. And they help you have a back channel to correct information. I don't think people are out to fix the game or to, inappropriately leverage things, but knowing that someone has misinterpreted something gives you a chance to fix it, as opposed to just not knowing and finding out on game day or at the time of contract or whatever.
So where do you think technology is going in the industry now? I feel like, technology advances so quickly, like breakneck speed, right? And I think that this next year CoreLogic step is going to be a big one. So where are we going?
So on a philosophical level, so let's start there.
Okay.
I think technology is allowing us to move faster by building trust. Once there's trust, Stephen Covey's son, wrote a book called The Speed of Trust, and really strong arguments for when trust is high, costs go down and speed goes up, everything goes faster. And I think with technology, under pricing, under job distribution, under auditing claims, that what the technology is doing is allowing us to go faster. So a good example is we have some audit tools that allow you to scrub an estimate. You can take care, if it's a carrier program, you can take carrier guidelines, and the carrier can say, okay, I want to put those guidelines out there, or the contractor can do it, whoever's the quarterback and facilitating that process. But in the past, auto has been seen as way far ahead of property. Well, one of the reasons is in auto you have a VIN number, you have a defined set of parts. You're working inside of a shop most of the time, where the car's coming to you, or you're towing it in and you're working in a controlled environment. Whereas with construction, there's all kinds of custom things that happen in a home. There's somebody flew some stuff over from Italy. There's different things that happen in a property that you don't see. That's kind of a wild card. And so the general school of thought has been, well, it's harder, and that's true. But because of that, we can't automate, which is not true. About 75% of the stuff is repeatable and scalable through automation. And so you have computers work on that stuff. Everybody's worried about computers replacing people. They're so far away still.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like IBM did a study in, I think it was 2014, where they put like 1.5 million pictures through a computer, and they raved and bragged that the computer was able to spot a cat. I always say cat, and they're like, what'd you say? So, kitty cat. But they were able to spot a cat 75% of the time.
Wow.
Which is amazing.
Yeah.
But a 4-year-old can do it 100% of the time.
Yep.
The human brain's so much more advanced than any of our technology. The key is getting the human brain engaged in the things that humans are good at. What humans are not good at is repetition. Things happen over and over again, and you have a bad day, or you forgot, or you're thinking about something else. Have you ever been reading a book and you turn the page and go,
yes,
I don't know what I just read?
That is the worst. And you're like, oh,
that's safer than what happens to me. Sometimes I'm driving, I'm like, I don't know who was driving for the last 2 miles, and so it's like, because you're thinking about stuff. Human brains are so dynamic, and so we want computers to give us a more reliable structure to support what we're doing as humans. And it also allows you more time to have a human touch on the job site. Everybody I talk to talks about the customer, and insurance carriers, contractors, they're actually aligned. We're all aligned on the side of the whole supply chain's aligned on the side of how do we get that policyholder back to where they were before or better quickly. The longer it takes, the harder it is to get to get the satisfaction surveys to go well.
Yep.
Because there's a time quotient. The longer it goes, the more expensive it gets for everybody, because things happen and it complicates, the complications come in, and so if we can use technology so one example is we'll scrub the estimate with the rules and the guidelines from whoever's the entity, and you can score it and pass straight through. A lot of insurance carriers are now doing low touch, no touch, and if they can pass it straight through, contract gets paid quicker, policyholder gets their business or their home back together quicker. There's more that we know. The old school way of just doing it and then try to reinspect, I've heard anywhere from 2 to 4% loss. They try to keep it under 2% or something like that. Who knows? But everybody's doing their best to try to make it work, and it's not that the people aren't trustworthy. It's that the system doesn't have the checks and balances that are easy to identify, so that you can quickly trust. So you get on the roads now. We're coming on Captiva Island, and you go through that toll booth. You don't have to slow down.
No.
Because they've got passes, they've got things, so there's high trust there. We know we're going to be able to collect or do whatever we need to do, and so we don't worry about it. We collect on the back end. Well, that's way better to me than having a bunch of traffic there and do I have enough change and things like that. So I think centralized processing is big for tech. The relationships that you have with your adjusters as a contractor are still important, but the power that adjuster is going to have to impact is going to be less because you have centralized processing teams that are now looking at everything, whether it's distribution or validation. It's all going as central as much as possible. The contractors going to be relied on more and more to be the eyes and ears and feet on the street in the field because they're already there. And so technology allows there to be trust in that. So, and again, it's not that I assume something bad's happening. It's that I don't want to think about it. I want to be able to trust it. And if I can put it through a glass pipe where everybody can see, and we can have measurements along the way, then everybody wants to do it faster. I can't say enough how aligned the carrier and the contractor really are, and the vendors. When you really dig down into it, everybody I met's a good person. Everybody wants the best. Everybody's trying to do their job well or do their make their company successful, and you get frustrated when there's roadblocks. And so, I say if we can build more trust and have automation that truly serves the end purpose that we're all aligned on, which is making the customer whole again quicker, faster, and fairer, in a way that's justifiable and easy to track and easy to automate. That's where we're heading. That's what people want to do, and that's what's happening. And one of my favorite quotes, I think, I don't even know who to attribute to now, but it says the future's already here, it's just not evenly distributed.
Okay.
So it's already happening in certain spots, and because of COVID, it had happened a lot quicker. So some of the things that we're doing right now are not going to go away when COVID's completely gone, and hopefully it will be completely gone. But some things like the mask and all the little nuances and the political stuff's going to fade away. But using that technology to get stuff done from a centralized or remote place is not going to go away. The human touch that's needed at a job site is not going to go away. So how do you solve that? And a lot of it's, based on time and quality.
All right, so it's a hot button topic, so we don't have to get into the hot part of the topic, but let's talk about data a little bit. Let's talk about the good side of data. How is data going to help restorers and help drive the industry forward and help the claims process in general as we move into the future?
Okay, so on a small scale, we've got an app that, and I'm going to say this because we speak at conferences, you got to be careful not to sell. I'm not trying to sell our stuff, but we have an app that you can send a link to the homeowner before you get there, and they can see your truck coming. They can send you pictures. They can communicate. So, for example, if somebody says, I've got a mold problem, I need you to come out and fix it. I've got a leaky shower with a mold. You send pictures and you're like, okay, that's mildew. I'm going to send a different tech out. Or, hey, you get to the job site. I don't know how many horror stories I've heard. They're like, I had 2 fans on the truck. They said it's just a little kitchen leak. You go there and the basement's flooded. You're like, okay, I don't have enough equipment. I don't know the right people. I got to get all that. So you can right size the job beforehand just with a little communication. The number one thing that you hear from customers on every survey and from companies internal, it always comes down to communication. And so some technology that will help us with that, and that's data. I can see now what I couldn't see until I got there. So that's some data. On a large scale, one of the things that I'm excited about with CoreLogic is a lot of people don't know they're super entrenched in the real estate market. And so they run a lot of stuff, data that happens on the MLS, and we have find, buy, protect are the 3 divisions. Well, the find, looking up property, and buy, mortgage tools and things like that. That's a big part of our business. The protect thing is where we're focused and where we're moving forward. But there's data that right now you can get. You can order up a roof sketch from EagleView or whoever, and you can get those dimensions before you go, so you can prepare. There's a lot of stuff that you can do with data. There's a lot of forecasting that you can do if a storm's coming in. You can decide, where are we most vulnerable as a company for, if you're a carrier, or where am I going to need to have people if you're a large franchise, and how do we do that? And if you're an independent, it's like still, I want to know where we're going. If you look on the weather reports for any upcoming hurricane or disaster, a lot of times, I've seen it for the last 10 years, you'll see CoreLogic down at the bottom because they've got that data that's helping people. So the upside of data is, there's tools that you go into a property and you can measure really easy, or you've got cameras that'll do the 360.
Yep.
Well, on the real estate side, they've been doing that for years. And so we have that data already. So if we can match that data up or get it beforehand and order it up, then you can be a lot more efficient and a lot more cost effective, and the efficiencies and in cost and preparation allow the customer to have a better experience and allow you to make sure you have the right things, and so you're not wasting so much. It's the measure twice, cut once mentality is now on steroids. It's automated because I can see. So I can measure 2 or 3 times and cut once and not lose any ground.
All right, so before we wrap it up here, I have one more question about kind of adopting new technology, because it can be really hard. This industry has a lot of baby boomers. We found those stats when you and I were speaking at a few conferences this year from Gokul, and there's a lot of baby boomers in the industry, a lot of people that, no matter the generation, in the trade, some people like technology and some people don't, right?
Right.
So with everything innovating and moving this fast, how do you keep up with technology, and how would you tell, what should a leader do within their organization if they have pushback from people who just can't get there, can't get into the right process, can't get into the system? Then what?
Face it and embrace it. That's my thing. You gotta face it first of all. If the big waves are coming, the first thing you do is turn your boat into the waves, right? So ignoring it or saying it's not an issue doesn't help. So it doesn't mean you have to be an early adopter. It doesn't mean you have to be the wherever you want to be on the adoption curve for technology. You can choose and do what's comfortable for you. So that makes me want to dance.
Sing
that song. But with technology, where I was going, the early. I was just saying, face and embrace it. So you have to, as a responsible business person, you have to be looking at technology. And you can call technology whatever you want to call it. Cars at one point were technology, and the ability to have an engine in a truck versus horses gave you an advantage. It also costs money, so where do you want to be on that curve? You don't want to stick your head in the sand. You want to face it, and the embracing it part is more of a culture. I think culture is huge for companies. And if it's like when you tell your kids you'll do it and you'll like it, that's not going to work. They might do it, but they're not going to like it for sure. And so you gotta find a way to actually, my brother-in-law was a ranger, and he was, some stuff would go hard with the kids. You'd always tell him, embrace the suck. You gotta
embrace the suck. You
gotta love it all. You gotta love the good stuff and the bad stuff. And if you think technology is a really tough curve, to me that's a sign that you need to dig in deeper on technology. And if you're really good at technology, great. You might have some blind spots. Let's make sure everybody around you is good, or you want to go. And the baby boomer issue is a real issue, not necessarily for technology, but they're leaving. So we have a industry and a job market in general that it's tough to find people. And it's tough to replace people. And as the baby boomers are leaving, there's not as many adjusters around, so you have to have some technology. You don't have the same type of talent pool coming in to do your restoration company. So staffing becomes an issue. You've got, technology can help with that. But I think having a face it and embrace it mentality around technology allows you to see, and when it comes to actual technology, some baby boomers are all over technology. They're really into it. And some millennials or Gen X's are not.
My dad has
right?
all the things.
So I don't think that part is going to give you, maybe some trends, but I'd be careful with compartmentalizing people too much by that. But regardless, you can stratify based on who's comfortable with tech and who's not. And is tech just shiny and bright and actually causing us more complications, or is the tech really working within our system? And the biggest problem you get with tech is people buy tech thinking I'll just throw it out there and now all my problems are solved. And it's not. It's like any business principle. You have to adopt it, you have to understand it, and you have to be able to communicate it. and it has to fit your system. And if you have a system, you can scale. If you don't have a system, it's not going to scale. It's going to be chaos, and you're going to say, oh, it was easier when I was smaller, and you're going to go back to that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Anything else you want to touch on before we wrap it up?
What do you see as the biggest
you're turning it
thing
on me.
in the industry? What's got you excited, or are you so heads down because you have this new venture that's the answer?
Okay.
I think people are tired of talking about M&A, but I think that's a little unfair because that's still going. That trend is going to keep going, and I think if you're tired of hearing about it, you need to be careful that you're not going to. You have to stay competitive, right? Like if you're not getting bought as a company, what is your strategy for the other people in your market that are going to consolidate, and then you're going to have like a first on-site, and you're competing against them as maybe a small independent. You have to, even if you're tired of hearing about it, I think that the trend I'm hearing is people are tired of hearing about it, and I feel like my response to that is you might be tired of it, but you still have to pay attention, right?
It's still real.
Yes, and it's not going to go away right now. It's going to, I think, continue for a little bit, and so we'll see where the industry takes us.
For more Restoration Today, visit our website, cnrmagazine.com, or find us wherever you get your favorite podcasts.